All right, we are live here for our FPL Under the Radar Blank Game Week 30 preview video. This is FPL Kante. I'm here with my buddy FPL Wrangler. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How are you, Kante?
Good, good. Good game week. Could have been better with the triple captain. But Salah, who never gets injured, got injured. So that's unlucky for both of us and whoever triple captained him. But yeah, I mean, overall, it did work out pretty well. I went up from about 150K all the way to 93K. So yeah, can't complain really. How about you?
Yeah, it was pretty good for me too. So basically, I'm done with like most of my chips, as you know. Like I think like from 26 to 30, in last 4 game weeks, I played 4 chips. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and it paid off. Like I was in around 54K, and after this game week, I am in top 10K. So it's 9.8 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
The first time made into this top 10K, so it's pretty good. It's very good feeling. So it's just now we have to survive. At least I have to survive. I know you have a bench boost still, but for me, just for next 8 or 9 game weeks, but there are a lot of doubles there. At least 5 game weeks doubles, 4 to 5. So
Yeah.
yeah, looking forward to that. 30 is not a very like attractive game week, but like it is what it is. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even without the triple captaincy points in 26, we did not do too bad, right? I mean, and
Right.
that's a proof that there are different strategies that you can go with and succeed. I saw people succeeding with the 28 wildcard, right? And then bench boosting in 29. And then people like us who wildcarded in 26, bench boosted in 28. uh, that worked out as well, right? So the only downside is that we did not get the extra triple captain points, but that's about it, right? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it overall it played out pretty well, I think, for most of us. Uh, but yeah, let's go into and start talking about game week 30. So, as always, we'll look at the fixtures, kind of long view, and game week 30 specifically kind of in focus. Uh, we'll talk about whether it's worth to free hit or not to free hit in game week 30. We'll talk a little in depth about the Leicester FPL assets, especially because they have lots of games to be scheduled after they have a game week 30, and beyond that, also in the last 8 game weeks, they have 11 games to play. So they're kind of in interest in the community, of course. We'll talk a little bit about them, whether it's worth to bring them in or not right now. We'll talk about Game Week 13 30 captaincy, and we'll end with our team selection. We don't have our buddy ZD with us here either. Hopefully, in the next video, he'll join with us. He got busy with something, so we'll see.
But
Uh,
his game week actually went good this week.
yeah, he did also pretty good. Yeah, so I
Yeah, he
think
got like I
he,
think 115 or so, and he's very
yeah, he
close.
did not play any cheap. So without any cheap, also I think he did make significant improvement in his overall rank. Right now, I think he's at 118, so just outside
116,
100K,
yeah, yeah.
just outside 100K, but pretty good movement at least this game. All right, so let's talk about the fixtures a little bit about the long view and how the rest of the season is going to look like. And of course, we did get some rescheduled fixtures before game week 29, and it came out the way a little bit kind of. Uh, Depending or whatever is going to happen on the FA Cup fixtures essentially. But at least now we know that in game week 31, uh, two teams are definitely going to double, right? Burnley and Everton. So Burnley's double is Man City and Everton, and Everton's double is West Ham and Burnley. So not really a lot of FPL interest over there, but again, double is a double. And I know there are a lot of people holding on to like a Dennis or a Jimenez or Edward, whatever people might be interested to move from there to either a Weghorst or Everton forward, right? Potentially. So again, I mean, not a big double, but something to think of right after the blank game week, of course. None of them play this game week, neither Burnley nor Everton. So that's kind of a downside that we cannot bring in any players from those teams in 30. Otherwise, I think they would have been of very high interest. And then game week 33, is the big double game week. So there are at least 5 teams who are definitely going to double. So Brighton against Tottenham and Man City, Burnley against West Ham and Southampton, Leicester City against Newcastle and Everton, Manchester United against Norwich and Liverpool, and Newcastle against Leicester and Crystal Palace. So no matter what happens in the FA Cup or whatever in between, those 5 teams are going to double no matter what. There are other few doubles which are kind of contingent to what happens in the FA Cup quarterfinals, right? So, for example, if Southampton uh, and Man City, they're one of the fixtures in the quarterfinals, right? So if Man City wins, so they will not have a double anymore. Right now on the fixture, even on the FPL website, it shows them as doubling Wolves and Brighton. But if they lose to Southampton, then if they win against Southampton, they won't have the double. So they will have the Wolves fixture removed and Wolves will blank. If Southampton beats Man City, then Man City will double. So Man City's double will hold, but Southampton and Arsenal won't double anymore, right? So right now it shows as Arsenal doubling with Southampton and Chelsea, and Southampton doubling against Arsenal and Burnley. So if Southampton wins their fixture against Man City in FA Cup quarterfinals, none of those two teams will double. And then with Liverpool and Chelsea, the situation is a little clearer, not as complicated. So if Liverpool wins their fixture, they are not going to double, uh, and Aston Villa will have a blank. And same for Chelsea. If Chelsea wins and goes through to the next round, goes to the semi-finals, they will have the Leeds fixture removed. So Leeds will blank, and but they will still have their fixture with Arsenal. So still, of course, a lot of contingency as you can see there. So the other doubles are going to be decided once we know the FA Cup quarterfinal results, which is going to be also this weekend, right? So that's the good thing that before going into the uh, international break, big international break, we'll know absolutely what's going to happen in 33, right? And when we are going to talk about our teams, it will see like why we are thinking to potentially save a transfer this week so that we can plan better once we have all the news in hand. But that's basically it. And of course, we know there are other fixtures to be rescheduled. Potentially, teams like Chelsea, Leicester City, Aston Villa, Everton, all those 4 teams potentially could end with a double in game week 36 and 37. So that should be pretty exciting as well. Game week 36 is also going to be another big double, but even game week 37 could end up being a decently big double game week. So now, of course, we'll get clarification on that as soon as we know the FA Cup fixtures. It will kind of clarify what's going to happen even in 36 potentially, kind of at least to some extent. But yeah, that's pretty much about it. So of course, the exciting time for the FPL managers. Whether you have a cheap or not in hand, of course, if you have a cheap, you can attack these fixtures better, maybe than the people who doesn't, like a wild card or a free hit, so on. But even so, even without the chips, there are plenty of chances to attack the games, right? Just because so many teams double in this time frame in between 33, in between 31 to 37, pretty much. But yeah, that's about it on the kind of the long view of the fixtures. Anything to add?
No, we're gonna actually like discuss about this anyways after we get all the outcomes after this FA Cup over this weekend,
Mm-hmm.
right? And after that, actually, it's kind of very simple. Like whoever wins in the FA Cup, they're not gonna be doubling in in 33. It's kind of
Right.
as simple as that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if they win, if they lose, then they're gonna be doubling in 33. So
Right.
we'll see how it goes. And as you mentioned, like it's a lot of cheap strategy will be there, right? Especially like people who have free hit or bench boost or even wildcard, right? There are a lot of things
Mm-hmm.
is gonna like play there. But there are two certain things, as we know, right? Like Burnley and Leicester City, right? They are doubling for sure, and that's where actually these two these two teams, players get more interest. First of all, for Burnley, if you see right after 32, 31 doubling, they actually playing against Norwich, which is a good game for them. And again in 33, they're doubling, and
Yep.
again 36 or so. We'll see how it goes. So it's a good, like, it's a lot of games for them, right? And between 32, Norwich is a good game too.
Hmm.
And another one is Leicester City. The good part is that, like, they are playing in 30, right? While it's a big blank week, but they are playing in 30, and then in 33 they are doubling, and they have also two other games to be rescheduled. So these two teams actually becomes at least an interest, at least whatever we know, like, till 33. So just, we're gonna probably discuss about this more and more as we know more. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely. And Leicester's fixtures actually look pretty good also, like even apart from their doubles and so
Mhm.
on. In general, their fixtures are pretty good. So the rest of this isn't the only concern, and we are going to talk about the Leicester assets, of course, that whether they uh, put much importance on the Premier League or not, with the Conference League going on, and they move to the next round also today, right? So it might be that they put more importance on that, so there could be a lot of rotation. But anyways, we'll talk about the Leicester assets in a later slide. So let's kind of focus on the game week 30 fixtures a little bit, and of course, there's not a whole lot to talk about, and as soon as you look at the fixtures, nothing really kind of pops out as a fixture to target necessarily, right? um, and they are supposed to be close games, and that's what our EXG model is also showing. Wolves leads. Wolves is not really good attackingly, but Leeds is very poor defensively. So you would expect Leeds to concede, but you don't expect Wolves to score a lot. So that's what we're seeing essentially. Although the model is saying that Wolves will score approximately 2 goals, but they have scored only 9 goals in the last 10 games, right? So they barely score anything. And then Leeds did look good in the last few game weeks under the American manager, of course, right? Despite all the criticism about him, but I think he's doing a pretty good job after Bielsa. Um, so Leeds has looked good, hasn't quite uh, delivered goals wise or FPL wise as much, but they have been looking pretty good. But again, Wolves defense is nothing that you can kind of completely blow away either, right? So it will be a close match. What do you think about this match specifically, results wise?
Yeah, I think as you said, right, it's kind of the same scenario. Like, while Wolves are not good in the attack, but Leeds are also poor in defense, and vice versa as well, right?
Yeah,
I see here is like probably 1-1. I
very
mean,
likely.
even actually all of the games in this game week, there is no, like, very, like, very starting favorites here, right? So I
Correct.
think all of them are gonna be like very low scoring game, at least that I think so far. So, but yeah, 1-1 for me here. So
Okay. All
how
right.
about you?
Next one. Yeah. Anything else you want to add?
How about you? I mean, what's your prediction here about also?
I think either 1-1, or if Leeds manage to deliver on their underlying numbers, I do see them winning. But again, Wolves is a tough defense. I don't see them conceding more than one necessarily. But
Mhm.
yeah, I would probably bet on Leeds 2-1 win. Why not?
Yeah.
um, yeah. So next game is Aston Villa Arsenal. Again, very close to call. Arsenal has been very good recently. Although they lost to Liverpool, they put up a very good fight. Generally speaking, they have been very good defensively, especially, and attack from an attacking perspective. Also, they have been doing very well over the last few game weeks. Aston Villa at home are really, really good. At least if you look at the last 10 or so game weeks under Gerrard, of course. At home, they do put up better numbers than away from home. I was looking at Coutinho's numbers as well. All of his goals and assists, barring one goal, has come at home ground. And of course, it's very small sample size, so hard to kind of judge it based on that. But Aston Villa at home, I think, is a tough nut to crack. It's not as easy as when they are away from home. So this is again a very, very tough match to call. I would say maybe kind of like a 1-1. Sounds like a perfect 1-1 to me. But could be a high scoring match too, depending on how fast the first goal comes, right? If it's an early goal, maybe like the first 10-15 minutes, it could be an open match, but otherwise I see kind of a close 1-1, or maybe like a 2-2, something like that. What do you think?
Aston Villa lost to West Watford, right?
West
Their home. No,
West
Watford.
Ham. Uh,
West Ham was actually in their
last loss
home,
was West Ham. Yeah,
but that's their away, right?
that was our, yeah.
But I think they lost to Watford in their home, I guess.
Yeah, that was in game week 26 or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, yeah, something
But
like that.
anyways, Arsenal actually has been very good. Even
Very, very good.
against Liverpool, they lost, but first one actually, I feel like it was like Ramsdale's mistake. It was near to the post, and he should have done better. Second
Absolutely.
goal, actually, like Saka couldn't like have the clearance very well, and
Defensive
that's one.
mistake, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, otherwise, even they actually got lots of good chances, right? Martinelli missed, and Odegaard missed. There was a very good save by
Hmm.
Alisson. So it was a very good game, and I feel that Arsenal is gonna win in this game too. Probably not like blow away, but I mean, I see it's kind of 1-2 or
Absolutely. Yeah, cannot
1-2.
disagree. Cannot disagree. Yeah. Arsenal are a far better team, definitely,
So
than
I would I would bet on Arsenal here. I mean, I see here it could be clinched to 0-2 or
Mhm.
probably 1-2, but Arsenal is gonna win here. That's my
Fair,
prediction here.
fair call. Yeah. All right, next game is Leicester City versus Brentford. So this is the only game probably from like an attacking perspective we see something happening, because Leicester are very poor defensively. Over the last 10 game weeks or so, they are 19th from XG considered standpoint. Brentford are probably not as poor, but they are also pretty bad, especially away from home. They're pretty bad. So there are probably chances to be taken in this game, and especially for free hitters, whoever is free hitting, and we're going to talk about it. There is probably opportunity in this game, especially from a Leicester attacker standpoint. Plenty of midfielders that you can attack, especially if you're on a free hit on a one game week count. You are not necessarily thinking about carrying them for the rest of the season or anything. And even so, even on free transfers, if you say have like a complete dud on your team, like even like injured Bowen, right? Like Bowen to Barnes, something like that is a no-brainer, even on a free transfer probably this game. So you that's a fixture that you probably want to target. So I think this again would probably not be like a high scoring match. Leicester necessarily has not been like superb attack from an attacking perspective in the last few game weeks. They were pretty poor against Arsenal, but of course Arsenal is Arsenal. They're a better defense. Um, but yeah, I would go for maybe like a 2-1 as the EXG model also kind of suggests. So I think it would be that kind of game. I would go with the 2-1. What about you?
Yeah, as you said, these are the two teams, or this is the probably game that where attacker is gonna get returned, and I will probably go with 2-2, 2-1 or 2-2. I mean, I think
Mhm.
Leicester gonna score. Is the problem? I mean, we're gonna talk about Leicester more, but the problem is whom are you gonna take, because they played today, and Barnes played like 90 minutes. Who was people thinking that okay, he's gonna be nailed and he's gonna be playing,
Right.
but he played 90 minutes, and Madison is another option, right? Now Madison had some injury option, I mean injury issue too. So,
Right.
but again, I mean, I think it's gonna be a good game, good entertaining game. I think
Yeah.
so. Uh, like even Tony was good, right? He scored 5 goals in his last 3 games. So
Yeah. Three of those penalties, though, right? So
I
yeah.
know. I mean, still, right? I mean, that's
Yep.
why he's preferred too. He's on pens, yeah.
Yep. Yep.
So, and Brentford, I mean, they are very like stats, like they play, as you know, right? They do a very lot of good
Statistical
homework.
analysis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
a lot of statistical analysis, and I think they're gonna give a fight here. And Ericsson is
Absolutely.
there too, right? So 2-1 or 2-2, I guess, something like that.
Okay. All right. And then the last game of the game week, which is on Sunday, Spurs versus West Ham. So Spurs is kind of very inconsistent, right? So hard to predict what they're going to do in a given game week, of course. And we have seen that over the last 5, 6 game weeks. When they do well, they do really well, and their main attackers are very involved: Kane, Son, Kulusevski, etc., etc. But it's just hard to know like when they do turn up. The good thing about this particular game is that again West Ham are also in Europe, and they played today, and they played 120 minutes, right? So they played extra time. So they're tired, and they're also missing some of their key players. Bowen, um, who else is missing? I forgot. They had another key player missing. I cannot remember right now. Antonio came back, of course, today, but they must be tired after playing 120 minutes. So it's kind of a perfect game for Spurs to attack. So they have one extra day of rest, of course. They played yesterday. So I see definitely Spurs winning this game. But again, on that day, on that particular day, if they are as inconsistent as they were against Manchester United last week, something like that, I do see West Ham doing something as well. And West Ham are a pretty decent team, right? Despite them being tired or whatever, other missing Bowen, etc., etc., they are a good team, right? They play as a team. They always play as a team. They are not a player-dependent team necessarily. That's what Moyes' strategy is essentially, right? So make the team play as a team. But yeah, I do see Spurs winning this game. Again, I don't foresee it being like a super high scoring match, but I would go with a 2-1 as kind of the model also suggests. What do you think?
Yeah, 2-1 for me. I mean, it's gonna be good fight. By the way, Moyes is a good coach. You know,
Absolutely. Very good strategical
he
coach.
has
Yeah.
been managing this team very, very well. Right?
Hmm.
And they showed it. They actually, like, even against Aston Villa, people were thinking whether West Ham can do it or not, right?
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
they did it, right? And I think Bowen was not there in that game, was he?
No.
So I mean, I think like it's gonna be a tough game for Spurs. It's not gonna be easy. Yeah, they played 120 minutes today, but again, I mean, Moyes has been really good managing the
Yep.
team. So 2-1, I'm going for Spurs, but I mean, you never know. It can be a draw too. So we'll see.
All right. Okay. So let's move on. So let's talk about what we're thinking about game week 30. You want to talk about it, the free hit or non-free hit situation? What do we want to do?
Right. So let's talk about the game week 30 now. I mean, as we know, it's a very big, like blank game week. Right? There are only four games there, so eight teams are playing. So first question people think, like, should we free hit or not, right? Because some uh, people probably like has like 5 or 6 players, or those who has like 6, 7 kind of in the middle, like if they cannot feel 9 or 10, they're kind of in a dilemma, right? That should we play free hit or what should we do? So like I mean, suggestion would be like, if you have two free hits in your hand, I think, like you can probably use one of them here. It depends. First of all, actually, if you cannot field more than 5 or 6 players, definitely you should go for it, because like there is no point playing like 5 players only. I think
Mm-hmm.
because those who played wildcard, or took hits to navigate right game week 30, I think they will have 8 to 10 players,
Easily. Yeah.
on average, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to compete with them, at least, so I think you have to make, so even if you make one transfer, right, 5 players, if you have, you'll have at best 6, right? So I think that's when free hit can be handy if you have, and if you have two, that's good. And also one thing is like, if you don't have any Kane on Son, first of all, like again, if you have 7 or 8 players, first priority, if you don't have Kane and Son, bring them, because they are good captaincy shouts, as everyone talked about it as well. But that's another thing, right? If you don't like have 5 or 6 player, if you don't have Kane or Son, then definitely free hit, it's gonna be another option. And some people, like, want probably want to attack the blank game week, like, because like they are thinking, what, it's going to be low scoring anyways, people who might not like, put 11 players, so how about I play feet and attack them,
Yeah.
so that's another strategy. It depends on the strategy. Those people can think of, free hit, that's the idea here. Do you want to add anything here, or did I
Mhm.
miss something?
Yeah.
Okay. And so now if you don't free it, right, so now like rolling could be very popular in this game week. That's because, like, after this double game week announcement, right, in 33 and 31, I mean, it's still 33, right? There are a lot of things, I mean, we have to think about. And the problem is the FA Cup is after this game week 30 starts, right? So you cannot like take chances. Like, say if you do transfer now and then later you find out, oh, the FA Cup fixture became something different,
Mhm.
Like, so in 31, you might need like couple of more transfer to accommodate your like team in a good shape for 33. So
Right.
that's why like I think rolling in 30 is going to be very popular because this free transfer in 31 will be very useful. Okay. However, if you want to still want to make any transfer, that you are in a like in a position that you need to make transfer, then a couple of options. Definitely, we talked about Leicester City, right? Especially the attacks, because the Brentford game will be very good in terms of attacking. So like Barnes and Madison are the two shoutouts, right? Barnes have been good. He has been kind of nailed too in the last few games, and Madison is always has been good, right? So
Mhm.
those are the two options. Um, I don't know. I mean, Lookman or Dhaka or Iheanacho, they could come here too. But again, I mean, you have to think long term, right?
Yeah.
You do free hit, that's different thing, right? But I mean, if you navigate a transfer, I don't see them
Mhm.
to be honest. And again, in terms of parts, as we said, if you don't have any of them, bring them. Kane, Son, Kulusevski, whoever you can, right? Because they are really good, and basically Kane has been in very good hot form, and they have good fixtures as well, right? So I think Spurs is essential in 30. Brentford, Tony, the only shout, right? He has been in penalties, had 5 goals recently. Wolves attacks, like as we discussed, right? Leeds defense has been poor, so Wolves attacks can be enticing. And
Mhm.
Jimenez or like Ruben Neves, right? They are really two good options. Now, a lot of people have Jimenez, right? I would not suggest to bring any Wolves attackers now because their fixture are not as good after 30, and they in 33 they might blank, so it's time to probably offload them. So if you don't have any Wolves attacks or any Wolves, unless you free hit, I would not suggest bring anyone right now. Just probably roll or go other things, but not Wolves. That's my personal view. What do you think?
Yeah, no, agree, 100% agree. Yeah, so definitely target Spurs,
Right.
Leicester players, and then potentially, I mean, you are trying to navigate if you are only navigating with free transfers, and depending on your cheap strategy, of course.
Yeah.
Say if someone is free hitting in 33 or kind of dead set on free hitting in 33, they don't necessarily care about who is doubling in 33 or not. So they may have a different strategy. But people who plan to navigate 33 without a free hit, of course, for them, Leicester players would be priority.
Right.
Spurs doesn't have a double in 33 right now. Their double will most likely fall in 36. But
Mhm.
even so, their fixtures are generally pretty good. And so yeah, absolutely. So those two will be the main targets on free transfers. Tony's fixtures are not that great after 30, right? So he kind of becomes like a dead load pretty much after 30.
So yeah, I mean, that's actually you pointed pretty good. Like if you wildcard in after like 30, like 31, 32, then actually you can get those players like Tony or Jimenez, like for a
Yeah, if you're
very good.
welcoming right after this blank game week, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So I think then you can afford doing that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and the last part is like Salah well, I think it should be Salah Hokey-cokey. I mean, if you watch,
It is either way is right. I looked
yeah,
it up in Google.
yeah,
Hokey-cokey
yeah.
and
Either way
Hokey.
is right, but I mean the exact term that like Pras mentioned in
Yeah.
their last burning series question, it's Salah Hokey-cokey. So if you watch that, this term is basically like a lot of people are thinking, what, Salah is blanking and he has a lot of money. I mean, he's occupying a lot of money, right? So how about like I uh, bring out Salah in 30 and get like say Burns or Madison, and that's a like long term, or even Son. A lot of people are thinking Son, right? Because Son has a good upside, a chance of a good upside in 30. And then in 31, if I have Son, and if like there are kind of people are thinking that whether Salah is going to play in 31 or not, because they have like Champions League game, and Salah is going to play 2 international game as well, during the international break. So whether he's going to get any rest in 31. So there are a lot of speculation.
Hmm.
So that's why a lot of people are thinking that okay, drop Salah, get either Burns or Madison or Son, and then in 31, either bring the Salah back, just directly whatever transfer you did, or like Barnes or Madison are long term pick, right? So you keep Barnes and Madison if you bring in 30 in place of Salah, and then bring Salah back in 31, like either removing say Rafinha or Coutinho. A lot of people have those, right? And they were thinking to offload them
Mhm.
because like Rafinha or Coutinho might blank in 33, right? So that's kind of called Salah Hokey-cokey, right? Now who can have the luxury, or who can have think like who can like think doing that, First of all, as we mentioned, right, in 31, it's very important that we have two free transfer, because we don't know how it's gonna have. I mean, what's how the fixture is gonna look like in 33. So one of the transfer actually people will need Reece James or Cancelo in 31. That's fine, or any Chelsea defender actually, you know, because their fixture is good in 31, right? And we know what Reece James can do if he plays one game, and Cancelo is Cancelo too, and they are playing against Burnley in 31. So
Yeah.
people might need one transfer there, and also like say if you already, I mean, have them, that's good. But if you don't have them, you will need the transfer. Okay. So if you already have them, then probably you can think of. And also like say if you're triple up, like if you have Robbo and triple up with Liverpool, like Robbo or Trent and Salah, because you're removing it. So that's one thing. And if you think that again, like okay, I'm not going to bring Salah in 31 because I don't. I'm thinking that he might get rested, so I'll not bring him. So that's. And I mean, if you think, then okay, you can then do it, because 2 game weeks, like he's like 13.2, right? 13.3. It's a lot of money. I mean,
Mhm.
right? So you can do that. Another, but if you do that, just make sure that if you, I mean, you have sufficient fund, to bring him back,
Yeah.
because his buying price might be higher than your selling price. Okay, so make sure you use some planners and to check whenever you bring him back, right? And another is like we already mentioned, like if you do wildcard in 31 or 32, then you can get rid of him and get him back again in the wildcard, right?
Mhm.
And the last one is, as we mentioned before, that like if you have Coutinho, Rafinha, I mean, I would say actually Coutinho, because Rafinha's picture is good actually in
31
31.
and 32 are good. Yeah.
Yes. So like say now in 30, you remove Salah and bring say Barnes or Madison, whoever. And in 31, you remove Coutinho and again make Salah. Given that you already have like Reece James or Cancel or whatever it is. Those people can think of, and that's how you can think of if you want to do Salah Hokey-cokey. But I would not go to that route actually, because as I said, two free transfer is going to be very valuable. So that's the take about game week 30, I think. So, uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. I'm with you 100% on that as well. I mean, it's a book transfer. I don't want to have any book transfer for 31, because I know for sure that I will want to use my transfers elsewhere, especially in our situations, because we removed people like Cancelo and James Reese from our teams, right? So
Mhm.
we definitely want at least one of them back by 31. And
Right.
then there are other fixtures to target, right? If I'm using my transfer up on bringing back Salah, I'm probably completely going to miss out on the Burnley and Everton double, right? It's not
Exactly.
as attractive, but you'll be losing focus essentially on targeting the other double. So yeah,
Right.
it's not at all worth for me. And I think he plays in game week 31 as well. I know people were kind
Yeah,
of
I
uh,
think so.
guesstimating that he won't after the Egypt matches and before the UCL games, but I think he absolutely plays against Watford.
He's gonna be playing, and he's gonna have like high EO people are gonna captain him too.
Oh
So
yeah, he's pretty much the standout captain in game week 31 as well. So all right, so let's
oh,
move
yeah.
on. You want to talk about the free hit?
So this is not free hit. So basically, like this is kind of the highly owned player in top 10K. So basically, if you see here, right, in game week 30 in top 10K, basically around 8 to 9 players are there in top 10K. So if your team is kind of a template ish, it's kind of
Mhm.
expected that you have 8 to 10 players, as we said at the very beginning, right? And the X point based on FPL review for that 8 to 9 player is around 42. So that's basically the message here. Just wanted to show. But if you go to the next, yeah, so this one is kind of the uh, draft that we came up with. That if anyone is interested for free hit, so here, basically, the point that we saw is actually from the FPL review, and this is kind of the as per the FPL review point, this is the most optimized team.
Mhm.
Okay, with the 3-4-3, you can have 3-5-2 as well, but if I read out the name, Smakel is in goalie. Okay, it can be Sa as well if you want to bring Sa or Sais. But the reason Sa is not here is because you have uh, Sais and Cody and Jimenez. Okay, so that's why Sa is not here in the goal because you are already triple up, and Leeds defense is not as good, right? So that's why Jimenez get edge here, right? As I said, size and Cody in the defense and regular, right? So defensive wise, this game week is really not good, as you can see, right? The highest point is 3.9, regular 3.8, 3.9. So it's not very attractive. But attacking wise, it's okay. And here, like Saka, Madison, and Barnes, as we mentioned, two Leicester City, mid, and also Son definitely, double up on the Spurs, Son Kane, Lacazette and Jimenez. Okay. And Coutinho is in the bench, but if you go to 3-5-2, then Coutinho will be there, and then you can probably bench Jimenez. Like here, Tony can also, be like replacing either Jimenez or Lacazette, whoever it is, because Tony's picture is good. He looks good too. So Tony can be here too. And on the bench, I mean, Tierney, Cash, and Raya is there. I don't think you need them, but again, you can play them. Tierney is, I mean, who knows? I mean, his attacking return will not be there, I guess, because he's kind of playing a like central role recently, kind of deep, because Tomias is not here. Uh, but you can also play him. I mean, if you want. So there is kind of a template-ish free hit draft, I would say, and I think 80 to 90% teams are gonna look like that if they play free hit here. So do you
Yeah.
have anything to add here?
No, nothing to add. I would probably pick Tony over Jimenez, especially given the matchup
But
against
would you,
Leicester
would you
City.
go with 3-4-3 or 3-5-2?
3-4-3 looks okay to me. Again, Tony, Lacazette, and Kane all are on penalty duties, so I want to kind of take that chance if I'm really
Are you gonna
going.
play Coutinho or like how
Mm,
about Barnes
no,
and
I
Madison?
think
Because-
I play Barnes and Madison over Coutinho in this game,
Okay. Yeah.
especially because Arsenal's defense, right? They're a pretty solid defense,
Yeah.
so I would rather bet against Brentford defense.
Yep. So yeah, I think as I said, right, 80 to 90% team are gonna look like that if they play free hit here. So,
All
so
right.
if you
Good.
interesting, actually, 10 points upside. Like I mean, even
Yeah. And it's essentially the two additional players that adding like roughly
exactly.
9 points, right? And then the other 3 points are basically coming from something else. But those two additional players are adding your points. But that's what it shows, right? There is a not a whole lot of upside from a player
Mhm.
who is not like highly owned or something already, right? So, and as you mentioned before, like all these players, like all the Spurs triple up, maybe not Reguilon, but Doherty or Dyer or Romero is highly owned and so on. So triple up Spurs, triple up Lacazette, so triple up Arsenal is already popular, right? So the only thing you're gaining potentially is the Leicester double up midfield, who almost no one has. So that's the only upside on the free hit, essentially, unless, as again you had mentioned, like you are not only playing with 4 or 5 players. Then you get the added benefit of adding the even like just count the appearance points from 6 players, right? It's 12 plus points, so it adds up, of course. So yes, not a whole lot of upside, but if your team is in a situation where you absolutely need to because you don't have enough players, go for it. So one question though, so if you have one free hit left, say just one free hit left, would you use it this week or would you rather save it for 33 or 36?
Oh, I would definitely save it because 33 and 36 is gonna be very strategical. Especially like I don't have any bench boost, I don't have wild card, and a lot of people. I mean, if you see right, I think the bench boost cheap is still in. I think in top 10K, I think it's 46% or 50% still. 50% manager didn't play bench boost yet.
Hmm.
It's a huge number, right? So if you want to compete against them, you have to have free hit, either in 33 or 36, like whenever they play it. Okay, and I would definitely keep it for those game weeks. It's kind of strategical, So
Fair.
I would rather kind of sacrifice here.
All right. Let's quickly talk about the Leicester assets. Again, nothing much to talk about. We already kind of briefly spoke about them. So the three players that we have on this slide here are James Maddison, Harvey Barnes, and Daka. Uh, the big issue, even without looking at the stats with Leicester, is basically their rotation, right? The rotation risk when Vardy comes back. Do you, how much time does Daka get? And even Madison has not been getting minutes that consistently after his injury. So he seems to have some issue with definitely fitness. Barnes is the one that has been kind of very consistently playing over the last few game weeks in EPL and in Europe. He seems to be very fit. Uh, these are all season stats, of course, overall season stats. So Madison's numbers, underlying numbers, are slightly better from an XGI standpoint in comparison to Barnes. But if you look at the heat map, Barnes definitely gets into the box more, right? He's a little more direct player. So from an FPL perspective, it's probably easier to predict returns from Barnes than Madison. Madison's is a little bit kind of spread out, and as we spoke about him in the past as well, he's kind of the streaky player, right? So I remember in between game week 14 to 20, somewhere in that time frame, he had like four 10 plus points haul. But that's basically how Madison is, right? When he delivers, he delivers. But it's harder to predict Madison points. But again, the underlying stat wise, he's slightly better than Barnes. But from an FPL perspective, Barnes probably supersedes Madison, at least at this point of time. Daka is interesting. His numbers are pretty good, actually, underlying and even delivery wise. So he has had almost zero point 0.8 plus goal involvement per 90 minutes whenever he plays. So he looks very involved when he plays. But the problem is that can you predict his minutes or not, right? So he was not in the squad at all for the conference league today. And Rogers didn't say anything specifically whether he's injured or not. His name did not come up at least. So might be it was just a rest. So if you are on a free hit, maybe look out for the team news if you can find something before the deadline. Deadline is of course tomorrow, and Leicester plays on Sunday, so we may not know anything about the Leicester team news until Saturday or something like that. But if you know something ahead of time, Daka is probably not the worst shout. Uh, Vardy is out injured for sure in game week 30, so Daka is a decent shout if you at least have some idea that he's not injured or anything. But definitely, as we have said in our previous discussion as well, Barnes is kind of the standout pick from all of the Leicester attackers, at least at this point of time. So if you are going for one, especially if you are on a free transfer, Barnes should be, again, at this point of time, he should be the priority. If you are free hitting, then you can go all the way through, like go Barnes, Madison, and Daka. Uh, could work out, who knows? But yeah, so I mean, if Barnes first priority, and then maybe one of Madison and Daka, depending on your rest of the team structure, essentially. And as we said, in like there are probably better attackers, at least for this game week, in form of Lacazette or Kane, of course, and then Tony and Jimenez. All of them are on penalty duties, right? Daka is not. So that kind of adds to their benefit over Daka. So if you are going for two players on free hit, as Wrangler showed in his free hit draft, I think Barnes and Madison are the two picks. If you're going for a third, maybe a Daka. Would you go for any Leicester defenders at all, either on a
Who?
free hit?
I mean, the question is who.
Yeah.
Basically, if I go for any of them, I want them like till end of the season, right? But
On a free hit?
or on a free hit, I mean, the only person I can think of is Michael. Like in the goal. Otherwise, I mean, in the defense, I don't know. I mean, I don't find anyone really.
Yeah, it's hard to judge, especially that their players are coming back. So Soyuncu is back. Soyuncu played today, and he
No,
scored
so
actually.
Fofana
Sorry,
came back.
sorry. Fofana. Fofana came back. Fofana came back from injury and he scored. Soyuncu is there. Evans is back in training. So it's hard to know who are the central backs going to be. And then there is Justin, who is back now. There is
Very
Pereira.
good.
There is
Yeah.
Thomas. Castagna is still probably injured. but they have just too many options in that area, right? So very hard to predict who are the
Mm-hmm.
four-man defense going to be. So yeah, it's even on a free hit, it's hard to predict for just one game week. So of course, you can imagine how hard it is for the rest of the game weeks. And they are not a good defensive side, at least so far in the season.
So
And of
yeah.
course, we expect that Fofana is back now, so they will be better. But even so, yeah, I would not go there. Even on a free hit, probably I would not go there. Uh, all right, so fair, good discussion on this. Anything else that you want to add on the Leicester?
No, let's move on.
All right, so let's go on to the captaincy. So kind of straightforward this week. I think absolutely, if you have a Spurs attacker, Kane, um, first priority. If you don't have Kane, then maybe a Son. Kane is just operating at kind of a completely different level. If you look at his numbers, he is zero 0.9 xgi per 90 minutes, and his big chance involvement is like 1.75 per game. Huge, right? So he's just on a different level in the last few game weeks, and this is stat for a pretty long term, right? Last 10 game weeks. So he has been operating at a very high level for a very long time. It's not a small sample. So definitely, if you have Ken, go for him. If you don't have Ken, get Kane and captain him potentially. If you absolutely cannot get to Kane, I think Son is a decent shout. He has not necessarily delivered in the recent game weeks, but his underlines are also pretty good. Not as good as Kane, but still better than most of these other guys that we're showing here. Um, but yeah, absolutely, I think first priority would be Tottenham, right?
Yep.
Captaincy. All right. So the other people that we are talking about here are kind of again just for people who wants to take a punt, essentially, right? So Rafinha, we both had Rafinha in the game against Norwich, and apart from that game, also Rafinha has looked good in the last few games, right? Barring one game, I think that was Aston Villa game, right? He was kind of poor in that game. Barring that one game, he was very good in over like the last 5 6 game weeks. Just that he hasn't got his APL returns, right? So his underlyings are pretty good, pretty decent. zero
Mm-hmm.
point 0.7 xgi per 90 minutes and zero point 0.9 big goal involvement, big chance involvement per match as well. So pretty decent, right? Generally speaking, if you look at these stats without looking at anything else, you'd probably think of him as a very good captaincy shout. But of course, they're playing against Wolves, who are again decent defense. Their numbers have digressed a little bit in the last few game weeks, but still decent. Uh, but yeah, I mean, if someone is punty enough to go outside Spurs, I would not mind going to a Rafinha. I just expect him to kind of deliver at some point, right? He's just due. Like at some point, he needs to, or he has to deliver essentially. Other shouts are essentially Coutinho again, decent underlying numbers. And as I was mentioning before, his home numbers are really, really good, like exceptionally good. He has scored, I think, 4 goals and 3 assists, something like that. Out of that, 3 goals and 3 assists are at home. And again, small sample size, so hard to judge based on that. Again, against one of the toughest defense in the league against Arsenal, right? And you look at their XG conceded less than 1 goal per game. So it's very hard to bet against Arsenal defense, of course. Um, but yeah, it's kind of the punty decision. Barnes, maybe I would probably not go there again because how unpredictable Leicester's 11 is at this point. I wouldn't go anywhere near Leicester for a captaincy choice, at least for this game, just because hard to predict who their first 11 is going to be, right? Lacazette is a decent shout. Again, his underlines are pretty good, close to zero point 0.7 xgi per 90 minutes. He's on penalties as well, and he also kind of looks like a guy who is due for a big haul at some point of time. So, but again, Aston Villa away is not the easiest match. So again, I mean, this is just almost for the sake of showing. We are showing all this, but absolute priority would be captaining a Kane. If you cannot absolutely get to a Kane, definitely a Son. Um, but yeah, anything else to add, Andrew?
No, yeah, Kane is a clear cut choice here. But one dilemma, as you know, right? People have been having
Hmm.
those who doesn't have Kane, but they have Son. They were thinking whether to sell Son, get either any lister like Barnes or Madison, and then they get Kane in the upfront. It's gonna be a hit. Do you think it's worth it doing this week? Uh,
It's a really tough call, especially this game week. Like for game week 28, I kind of said strongly that I was against that, right? Going Son to Kane. I did not pan out well. Kane delivered and Son did not. Not necessarily Kane like gave big hauls or something like that, but he outperformed Son at least, and especially the Kane versus Kane plus Kulusevski uh,
that package, yeah,
duo. Yeah, so that package definitely outperformed Son plus whatever striker. But this game week is harder, and especially single game, right? How do you predict it? But Son also looks like a guy who is due. He has been in decent form throughout the season. So it's about that one match, right? That he performs. So it's a very tough decision. I think it's hard to make
yeah,
uh, right or wrong call on this. So it's very tough for people who are in that situation, that you cannot absolutely bring Kane and you have Son. But yeah, I would probably just captain Son. Um, don't worry about Ken. Just let it be. Right? It's again just one match. You're not talking about a double game week or anything, right? Just take that chance, captain Son. Don't take the hit. Not taking a hit itself is going to be a good differential this game week, right? So you'll probably gain your points just because you are not taking the hit. So yeah, I would not do it most likely.
yeah. Okay.
All right, so let's move on to our teams. Very straightforward. So as of now, this is my team. I'll read it out. So Ramsdale at goal, Gabriel and Doherty in the back line, Rafinha, Saka, Ramsey, and Kulusevski in the midfield, Jimenez and Kane captain. I had Digne, of course, as my 10th player and was hoping that he would play, but of course he got injured, and I think it's pretty clear now that he won't be back before the international break at all. So I have 9 players. Current plan is to roll the transfer, and as we discussed before, to have better usage of the free transfers in game week 31. So basically, play with 9 players. If I absolutely want to make a move, I would probably do Ramsey to Barnes. Although Ramsey has a game, so I am not gaining any player, gaining any fixture at least this game week. But I'll gain fixture down the road because in 33 Barnes potentially doubles and Ramsey won't have a match at all, right? So in the long term, I do gain 2 fixtures. In this game week, I don't. And of course, I have a little bit of upside that, as we were saying before, that fixture, Leicester versus Brentford, is something that we can potentially target, right? So, uh, otherwise, the game week, anyways, looks pretty grim. I don't see any transfer that I want to make for moving out Digne. We were thinking about maybe like a cheaper Leicester defense, but we discussed about that as well. We just don't know if I bring in an MRT and he doesn't play at all, right? So it's hard to predict that as well. But what I would prioritize in game week 31 is moving from Digne to either Cancelo or a James Reese potentially, and Jimenez to Weghorst, right? So we spoke about our potential moves. So that's, even if I do the Ramsey to Barnes move, that's going to be my move. Digne to Reese and Jimenez to Weghorst. If I roll, then my move in 31 would be pretty similar: Jimenez to Weghorst and Digne to either Cancelo or Reese, because I will have a little more money in hand in that scenario, so I can bring in Cancelo as well if I want. But yeah, that's where I am. Any suggestions?
No, I would not do Ramsey to Barnes. Like for this particular game, week, just after today's game, the problem is I feel like Madison would be better than Barnes. That's my
Yeah, I
personal.
was thinking. I was thinking about that, and I actually saw a article in Twitter written by Gian Batra, and he actually mentioned that Madison has a better matchup against Brentford because they concede more goals from like central positions. So Madison probably has a slightly better matchup as well. So yes, I mean I wrote Barnes here, but
Yeah.
very likely if I do move, I probably go to a Madison over Barnes for this game week, targeting this game week and also kind of targeting
Yeah,
the long
that's the
term.
thing, right? I mean, if you want long term, right? I think I probably want Barnes, but for this game week, Madison.
Yeah,
Thing
tough
is,
call.
you know what? I would always prefer Madison over Barnes if I would know that Madison is nailed.
X minutes are there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the only problem with Madison. Otherwise, I would always prefer Madison over Barnes.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So,
Cannot disagree. Yeah.
yeah. So, but I think I would roll. I mean, 31. I think we'll need two transfers. I think. So, and like Ramsey is good too. He scored in last game. I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you might not have like a lot of upside there. And again, Barnes might.
Yeah, and the one thing with Leicester assets are that they won't be highly owned anyways. Outside the free hitters, no, almost no one is going to own them. Maybe
Yeah.
a few people here and there. But it's an upside, but it doesn't have a lot of downside not owning them either, right? I'm not going to lose rank for not owning a Barnes or a Madison. So yeah, absolutely. I'm very much leaning towards rolling the
Yeah.
transfer and attack game
It's
with
kind of
30.
also like you're hopping onto the board early because in 33 they'll be very popular. But again, you can get rid of Rafina and you can get directly bring Barnes or Madison, right?
Easier way to get in there. Yep,
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
very easy. Unless you have, I mean, either you have Rafina or Coutinho, whoever you have, right? You can just get rid of them. So I think I would roll here. I mean, it's kind of sometimes feels tempting, but I think I would roll here.
Mhm. All right, let's move on to your team.
Yeah, my team is very much like yours, except like I have Tierney and you have Gabriel, and I actually fortunately sold Lucadin in last game week because I was kind of in the like I felt like in 30 they will not be able to keep clean sheet against Arsenal,
Mhm.
and in 29 I'm not gonna play him. I'm gonna bench him, and in 31 I'm not gonna definitely. I mean I'm gonna remove him for like Reece James or Cancelo. So that's why actually I got rid of him in 29, and actually it went well for me because then he got injured, and Size is playing for me this week. So I was kind of in a dilemma whether I should remove Size or Dina, but I kept Size, so he has in my team. So I have 10 players, and hopefully they will play. Hopefully, so I plan to roll. I mean, initially I was thinking whether I get rid of Broha and get Gilhard, and that's it's not like Gillard is gonna play. I know that he's gonna play only 30 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever it is. It's just to give like to get some funds, because like third like forward Broha is not even nailed much, and he has not been delivering as well. So I thought, how about I remove him and get some fun? But the problem now became that Southampton might double in 33, so I might not need Broha again, and he's highly on too, right? So I don't think I would now go to that route. I'll just roll and have two transfer in 31 and go with that. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Yeah.
and I mean Salah will be in my team by the way. You kept Salah in the bench, but
Yeah, yeah. I saw some people doing what they call bench wankery in Twitter. So playing like say actually putting playing players in the bench, and
yeah.
then
There
players who
was
don't
one
play.
funny discussion today in the FPL USC space. I don't know whether you were here at that time. I think you were
Yeah.
not there at that time. So there's one guy who has like 8 players,
Hmm.
and he has Ramsey, and he want to keep Ramsey on the bench because Ramsey scores whenever he's on the bench.
Yeah.
Okay. So he want to keep Ramsey on the bench. Essentially, he's gonna come, as a substitute, but
Yeah.
he just wants to keep him on the bench. So I found that it's very fun. So,
No. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, so that's pretty much everything that we had to talk about today. So just quickly summarize, of course, blank game week. Both of us are planning to roll out transfers. If you are free hitting, neither of us are using our free hit. Both of us have one free hit left. If you are free hitting, of course, target Spurs, target Leicester, etc., etc. If you are using your free transfer, of course, use it wisely. Bring in players who you would want beyond game week 30 as well. But yeah, that's pretty much about it. And I think as I'll emphasize on that again, not taking a hit itself this game week will be a differential. -4 or +4 point, whatever. It will take you a long way this game week. Not a lot of upside. But yeah, with that, anything else that you want to add before we end, Wrangler?
no, that's all.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Thanks for spending the time with me today. Best of luck. So deadline is tomorrow, of course, approximately 12 plus hours from now. So don't forget that. Other than that, we'll meet you in the international break sometime to talk about Game Week 31 and beyond. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon. Bye
Bye.
bye.